purpose of this series is to make a short, concise video on key points of Genshin concepts, characters, and weapons, and to give as much information and value in the least amount of time, kind of like crafting condensed resin in Genshin, hence the title Condensed Resin Rundown. I'm making this video after seeing like a lot of Genshin YouTubers being very misleading or skimming important information about Xiao, but this does not mean that what I say is perfection. I am still human, it's a PvE game, don't get butthurt if you play how you want to play, and without further ado, let's get into it. So after limit testing Xiao for the past couple days and talking to trusted Genshin math theorycrafters such as Shdwbld, JinJinx, and Kleeful frames, to name a few, please check them out in the description below for more in-depth calculations on the stuff I'm talking about, but basically this is what I've compiled. His best artifact set is going to be 2-piece Viridescent Veneer, 2-piece Gladiator by far, since there's no dedicated set for Xiao at the moment in 1.3. His best weapons, in terms of 4 stars, will be Deathmatch or Blackcliff, depending on the amount of star glitter you have, or if you need more crit chance or crit damage, as well as any 5-star spear for him will be very, very good. As for talents, prioritize his normal attacks, then his elemental burst or ult, and lastly his elemental skill or E. In terms of constellations, you really don't need any. C1 is misleading because it doesn't address energy problems for Xiao in long fights. The extra charge is nice for initial energy, but the cooldown for his E is ultimately still the same, no matter C1 or C0. As for Xiao's advantages, he's an Anemo DPS, so he has few natural weaknesses in terms of resistances, and he can swirl/spread elements from Abyss Mages or Elemental Slimes together to break shields and do bonus damage. He also has crit chance ascension, so every time he ascends he gets more crit chance. He has a large plunge AoE with respectable damage that can ignore shields. He has high mobility and ult. He is amazing in open world with his dashes and decreased stamina consumption on climbing, and he has access to the Anemo resonance for decreased stamina consumption as well as more movement speed. And in my opinion, he's very, very fun to play. So Xiao's downsides. First, he can't swap out of his elemental burst, so he cannot be used in quick swap teams. And since he's very selfish, he needs to do all the damage for your team by himself. He also cannot generate energy particles from his elemental skill during his elemental burst. And with his burst costing 70 energy, he ends up having a major issue with funding his elemental burst and needs an Anemo battery, preferably Sucrose C1 with Sacrificial Fragments or Favonius Codex, and as much ear subsets as possible. Or he needs to do enough damage to sustain particles generated by damaging or defeating enemies. He's also very squishy, and characters like Zhongli are very, very helpful in giving him a defensive shield, since he is very vulnerable mid-air when doing his plunge attacks, and if you're not careful he can get 2 or 3 shot in Abyss, so you need to keep that in mind. Also, he requires a healer with consistent heals, since he cannot regenerate the energy lost from the HP drain from his burst. I personally prefer Barber with C6 so I can revive, but any healer will do. Theoretically, Xiao's power level is at Dilute Vaporize, but this is not accounting for player skill, as well as frame perfect plunge, high and low plunge attacks. More details about this in Kleeful Frame's video or Shdwbld's video, which I will link in the description. But basically, his actual damage is slightly lower than Diluc's damage, but with more AoE, like a circular radius AoE with his plunge attacks. And I personally feel like he does a bit more damage than Keqing, but he's not being Diluc's best teams or Ganyu anytime soon. He also requires hyper investment in resources since he takes all the field time and has to have a lot of time investment into him to master N1 CJP or normal attack 1, charge attack, jump plunge combo, which is his highest damage combo. But for me personally, I've obliterated 12-3, but that's because my Xiao is stacked as crap with plus 20 artifacts, talent level 888, and a 5-star spear. So basically, should you pull for him? Only if you like the playstyle and are willing to hyper invest resources and time to learn him. And also you may need a Anemo support. But yeah, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Dude, bro, you okay?